So a lot of people ask me to do like mix breakdowns and go into like more depth into my mixes, which I've wanted to do. I have to find a balance between like the production part and the mixing part, but this is going to be a mix video. I'm going to go in depth into a popular beat I have, a folk sort of beat. If you hear heavy breathing behind me, that is my dog. There he is. Right there, sitting on the floor. But really quickly, if you want to learn about music production from the ground up the right way with the fundamentals all the way through to releasing your product, there is a link in the description to a course I'm working on. It's getting released September 1st. If you'd like to sign up early, you can, and you can save 20% off when it comes out. Anyway, back into the session. As you can see here, I have a thing called a spine. I don't know if it's probably shouldn't be called a spine, but it's just the structure of the song. It helps me, like this will be the intro. It helps me just lay out stuff while I'm recording. Has nothing to do with mixing, but very useful. Okay, so I started out with these two guitars. This was recorded on a smaller Ibanez guitar. It was very smooth sounding. So because they were pretty much the same sounding recording, different recordings, but the same microphones, the same acoustic guitar. I decided to just process them the same with a bus instead of putting processing on each layer, as well as I had like all this guitar rhythm all processed under the same bus as well. For the most part, these layers actually don't have much processing on them. The guitar rhythms do have some compression on them, some limiting actually. If you actually look at it, the ratio is infinity to 1, just to really cut off peaks. These guitars are meant to be like layered guitars, not really up in the forefront. These are the guitars that are supposed to be up in the forefront. So if we look at the processing that's on the bus, it's quite simple. It's just a bit of soothe. And by a bit of soothe, I mean a lot of soothe. This guitar was like somehow, it was kind of sharp often, so I just used soothe and I kind of overdid soothe to just make everything kind of sound a little more dull. Without soothe, it sounded like this. You can see it caught a lot of that clickiness out of there, and then some EQ. I like to cut like the second fundamental out, second harmonic, just because it's not good sounding. I guess this would technically be the third harmonic. This would be the first harmonic, the fundamental here. This just rang out. Not a needed thing. Not very important. So there's that. Now, I like to use the Red 3 compressor because it's really nice and clean. I actually have not installed it since I reset the computer, but there's a very similar sounding one called the FG Red, which is an emulation of the exact same thing. Something very light. There is a ton of distortion in these guitars just because they're super heavily compressed. But when you play with the other guitars, you can't really hear it. And that's really it for all the processing. I mean, it's just compression on the kind of the guitars that are supposed to be layered, and a bit of compression, a bit of EQ on the entire bus. Very, very simple. The guitar I use is very clicky, so I had to get rid of a lot of high end and kind of kill it with soothe. The guitar I use now has a much more body, and it's much more like high ended, but like crisp, not clicky. So something I'd do differently would be no soothe on the new guitar. Maybe like a little boost in the high end just to get it like airy and nice. But that was not really the case for this. This is a very clicky, not really warm sounding guitar, more of like just a supporting guitar. Jumping into the electric guitars, this is all Amplitude 5. So for the electric guitars, I use a deluxe reverb amp. Very simple, really actually not even a pedal. I guess I wanted some distortion, but I decided not to. And it'll be the exact same thing on this layer as well. If we play those together, sounds like that. With everything else, it's kind of hard to hear. But it's there. Very simple, just the guitar and the amp, that's it. This is a British Tube Lead 2, I guess. I wanted some overdrive. Kind of crazy. And this will be the same thing. So very simple guitars. Altogether, they sound like this. Like so far, it's very, very simple production. Everything together sounds like this. There's really only EQ and compression on there. So the next biggest thing is the drums, which I do a little more processing on. So this is the Superior drummer patch. Holy deep snare. crazy deep snare. Otherwise, it's pretty simple. For stuff like this, I remember always using like really thick, deep snares that might as well like be kicks with a bit of a snare under it. I love them. Just sounds so good, so meaty. As for the actual processing, there's really nothing going on at all, as you can see, 0. But yeah, just tuning. Make sure you're tuning the snare to the key. The key in this, I don't know what the key is, but another note is ba, and this is the, you can hear that ba. The snare's tuned to it, which makes the snare sound really nice. I use some R bass, which is something I don't do often, but if I ever need some more low end, I can throw R bass on and it'll really, really pump it. You can hear it here without it. And then with R bass, pretty crazy. Really great plugin. I do love using it. I use a CLA-76 on this. Nowadays, I'd probably just use a regular UAD-76. It's just there. I have it. I don't have the CLA-76 anymore. But this is, I mean, better anyway. Something like that. Just to have it fit in the mix a little better. I would probably do a little less attack to get that transient through. And then maybe even just back off the volume a little bit on Superior Drummer so I can get less gain reduction, because I am at the bare minimum of input right now. And it's still super loud. Jeez. And then I got some a limiter on there, the L3 Ultra Maximizer, whatever it's called. Crazy name. Just a limiter. I don't know. You can use any limiter. I just had L3 at the time. And it looks like I took the EQ off. EQ. I actually keep that on. I'm not sure if it was on or not. I don't remember, but that's a nice cut right there. I don't need anything below 41 hertz. Kind of wild. That's the drums. Really simple. I think the biggest part is getting that throaty, like that meaty snare. It really takes up a lot of the frequency response. If it was a tighter snare, I don't think it would have hit as hard. If you listen to like the folk pop stuff, the Noah Kahan stuff, you can hear like big snares, not just like a tight, like a regular 90s punk snare. You need that big snare. And then for bass, I remember actually using a bass for this, so that's good. Amplitude, same sort of thing. Here we use the solid state bass preamp. Nothing else. Sounds like this. Ended up cutting around 800 hertz, 770, I guess. Without that, kind of crazy with it. Just cleaning it up. A bit of R bass. I love putting R bass on bass. That's what it's meant for. Just nice, lovely low end without it. And with it. Really nice sounding. And then some last EQ just to carve out the mids in the sides. The sides I carved out up to 140 because I don't want a lot of low end in the sides. The mids I kept at around 24 because I can use the thumpiness, the low end in the mids. So that together with the drums sounds like this. And nowadays, I'd even take a little more out of, I mean, I'll just open up a separate EQ and just get rid of all this here. I'd go more into this range right here and cut a little more. Like that. Just to clean it up a little more. And I mean, even do some dynamic EQ. Let's get that bass out of the way a little bit. Beautiful. And for the keys, I used Analog Lab. Let's see what patch this is. This isn't like a normal patch I would use on a song like this. Oh, just the regular one. Kind of boring, but it works. This is a, what, Dr. Crucial sounding thing? What, let's see. Savory piano. So just some Rhodes and a piano, nothing crazy. A bit of a low cut on there. We got this, whatever this is. This is some sort of patty thing. Sounds like a bird. Bit of a low cut on there. Very simple. That together sounds like this. So, who cares? Snap clap. Comes from the Pop Star pack from Make Pop Music. Lovely. This is how it sounds with the bass and drums, percussion-wise. Then we had a tambourine. There it is. And really, as you can see, there's really not that much processing going on like at all. There's a bit of EQ, a bit of, I mean, on the bass, there's a little more going on. There's a bass amp, there's R bass, there's 3 EQs. Kind of an excessive amount of EQs. You could all do it in one, but why would you? When you can just look at 3 different EQs and make it harder for yourself. Drums, honestly, you just want a thick kick, a thick snare. Everything else is kind of all right. A nice like smooth cymbal to kind of ride over here. You don't want it in your face, very sharp. And then on the master, looks like we use a Need 84 console EQ that I don't have, an SSL style compressor that I don't have anymore, an LA2A which I do have, thank God. Just a nice little cut on Pro Q3, lovely. And then it looks like a Pro L, just to limit. And then the rest is just metering, Swiss Army meter, mix matcher, and a utility to check in mono. And all together, after all that processing, all that lack of processing really, just a bit of EQ, a bit of compression, this is what it sounds like. Simple. I mean, I think the keys, the pads, the Rhodes, the piano, the pad really adds like nice thickness to it. I think if we played them without all that stuff, it'd kind of sound a little weak. So that's without. And with it, it does fill it out quite a bit, I will say. It does sound like a silly patch. All 3 of them kind of sound a little silly, but they work. They work in the context. And that's it. That is a breakdown of a folk pop mix. If this is something you're interested in seeing more of, just let me know. I do want to get more into recording the mix process, but I just feel like it's boring for a lot of people. I feel like they'd much rather see like the building blocks, putting production stuff together to create a song, not really worrying too much about the mix. But if it's something you want to see, let me know. If you want to work together, send me a DM on Instagram. If you want to learn music production, check out the course below. And I think that's it.